Fortune to be able to hit that level 6 in combo with a Leona, it is really tough for the side laners of Legacy to be able to survive if a Twisted Fate gets online. So you need to really prioritize vision around the mid lane as well. It's not just a matter about shoving, it's about knowing exactly where he is and not giving Twisted Fate the opportunities to use that port. We want to look at that first ultimate as well. These global ultimates that want to get ahead are so important in the early game for having that first one really pay dividends, or else you're really going to slow yourself down.
Peanut's already at it, moving in, clears out a ward, does have that sweeper. In fact, both junglers have an early sweeper already. But no invades by the looks of things here as the teams are just spread out across the rift. We'll take a look at Raze with some pretty aggressive Callista runes, but I wouldn't say nothing out of the ordinary. I do like that both these bottom lanes are a little bit more aggressive than what we've been seeing, right? Kramer on the MF, Raze here on the Callista. Mark has Ignite, Isles has the heal instead because Raze has Cleanse. Thanks, Leona. Kind of forcing the tax on that summoner spell there, but there's going to be a little bit more play, I think, in the mid game between these two Marksman or two bottom lanes. Whereas we've seen, a decent amount of Twitch, a lot of Apps, a lot of Caitlyn, picks that want to scale a bit more. I think both teams know that they're expecting to fight a little bit earlier than normal.
They have to. This is what is going to be happening when you're playing these early game junglers that can be so aggressive and ranged at the same time. They can really exploit their lanes having priority, and you just have to back off and contest because the mid laners can collapse so effectively as well. So we see that the junglers are actually ended up taking very different routes, as Graves is going to do red to blue path all the way back to the top side and just a full clear from Legacy's Bad Babe. So he's going to put a little bit of an extra focus into the bottom lane. I don't think that Peanut will end up pathing to the bottom side for an early gank. There is that cleanse on the Callista, making her a lot harder to lock down. So you're best off just playing off of mid, who's just continuing to shove the Gallia under the turret. This is the area that we thought was going to be really important here, and Tally's doing a fine job in farming, but he's already losing some HP.
Yeah, CA took stack deck level 1, played very aggressive up on the wave as Peanut is going to take a chip down the bottom lane, but mid lane, here's Babip. Tally already with a taunt, does get it off, and the spear is not going to cake. Now Shea is going to have to run away, but here's the same story in the bottom lane as Raze likely forced to flash, does hop over there, so Isle's going to have to flash out instead, and Peanut, he took a tower shot. As Babip's going to go back in, the Q though not going to connect, just barely sails past the minion wave.
Both junglers really trying to make their mark in this early game, but Babip does not have the red buff, so he's not going to be able to fight Peanut unless he lands a really good spear. His gank in the mid lane just didn't find the right angle for it to connect. He would have been able to force a flash out of the Twisted Fate had that been a little bit more patient here. Looking for one bottom spear.
Oh, he got hit! What are you doing? That shoot's gonna proc, but there's the stun landing on it. Into the smoke screen goes Babip, so no first blood. But everyone's gonna walk away as Kramer had to burn both summoners there.
They should have known that the Nidalee was in that side of the map. After all, Grace just dodged the spear that came from that same angle. So the fact that the Misfortune lost all summoners is a big lapse in judgment there. Now we're back to Nidalee having priority here, and is gonna be able to double crab the Graves if she passes to the top side right away. And looks like she's just hunting him down, trying to make sure that she knows where he's at, sees that the camp is already taken, can deduce that the Graves is going all the way to the top crab.
Should have the info. You can see the LGD ping on Babip's location as well. Know that he's likely around that area, and they would be correct in that deduction. Ooh, Longsheng smacking that barrel down to Stopoon. Was getting some good leverage early here on the gangplank, but oh goodness, Renekton's doing Renekton things. Conqueror gonna proc, and Stopoon a little unhealthy after that trade. Oh, here comes Peanut.
Can he hit the smoke? If they stop his recall, he's so dead.
Yeah,
ooh,
flash,
nice
smoke
flash.
Screen. Now Stopoon's gonna have to call for help, but I don't think help's coming. First blood just sitting right here under the tower. Stopoon gonna do what he can to try and survive. Gonna get stunned, gonna get orange up, and now he's gonna flash out of the wave, and it's first blood. Peanut LGD on the scoreboard.
A good attempt there, but we saw what Longjin was trying to do, trying to whittle down the gangplank because he knew that Graves was playing to the top side. This is what LPL teams are pretty darn good at, which is playing your lanes to where the jungler is pathing, and that's exactly what happens. You can be that aggressive because you know you have backup. Worst things happen, your jungler is there, so you take a 2v2 and you have a health advantage, so you can be playing that far up. The clutch move there was Peanut stopping the recall, knowing that there was no way out for GP.
Yep, now Stopoon actually going to move in and try and find Peanut. We'll see him on the Krug camp there, or at least see the camp being finished off, so it does have the info. Renekton, though, did walk back to top lane. Sheen finished up for Stopoon as the CS has evened up somewhat, but early tab eyes here for the Renekton means that Longsheng should feel very comfortable here, and going to be tough, perhaps, to contest for this first break, given that they won't have TP, although top lane will have ulti most likely if they do go for it. And back down to the bottom side. It's good news here for Raze and Isles. They're up about 10 CS already.
Uh-oh. Okay, Pacer, we start to see what can happen here to the Gangplank because this wave is going to be fat. It's going to be building. Longqing has to stop this
so
wave
rude.
from being cleared so that the Twisted Fate can hit level 6 at the same time Renekton is 6, and then you just tower dive the Gangplank who has no summoners. Let's see what Peanut does in response to this because it is a really big possibility to obliterate this Gangplank. Renekton's already level 6, but they're just looking for the bottom side and will let Tapoon live another day.
Yeah, good bot priority there for Legacy. Does give them a pretty early first Drake as the Infernal Dragon goes down. Tapoon, I think, yeah, he's broken that freeze. Longqing just trying to let the wave push as late as it can. He walked up a W to barrel, by the way. Like, that's how forward Renekton is willing to play in this lane as Tapoon is trying to play catch up on CS.
The Gangplank's always going to have a lot more gold just from his passive, so if he's a little bit behind, you can actually see him being relatively even in gold just from that ability. So he can't afford to fall behind. He has to prioritize the health knowing he's up against the global, and right now the junglers don't know where they're at. They haven't seen the Graves just yet, and the red buffs is spawning, so they can assume that Peanut might be in the top side at the moment, so Legacy has no problem looking for a gank here because Peanut doesn't have flash.
There's a stun there, and that's move it down to the bottom side. Kramer, no flash, no hope, but Vip's in there, is going to get the first kill. As Mark going to try and stun it off. That damage is massive, but just barely. Not enough to finish off the second.
And look at where they go for the gank. They know that the wave is pushing, so that LGD is going to overextend a little bit to try to prioritize pushing that. Now, LGD will go for the blue buff, knowing that the Nidalee is not there, but there might be a bit too late to pull the trigger on the dive to the top side. The Galio now has the ability to roam quite easily. Doesn't have TP, but his ultimate will be in range of assisting Tapoon, who already has the ultimate to diminish any threat of a dive on his lane.
Yeah, blue buff to Peanut. Hits level 6 already, but let's watch this again. I think Tally actually faked taking the blue, by the way. He went over to the left side, and Isles just lined this up perfectly.
Great use of the Fog of War there, too. They didn't know that the Herrick stun was coming from that direction there, and they just wanted to hit those 3 minions and maybe walk out. So right at the time that it was going to be possible for a gank, because the flash is about to come up for the Misfortune as well, so that opportunity was not there. And you already see that Babip has learned from the first gank into the mid lane, position yourself to land this spear before the crowd control hits.
Both supports are in mid lane. I think they want to play for the Herald, perhaps. As Babip also on the top side of the map is going to lane gank through... Oh, it's not really a gank, actually. Tapoon's not here. Babip's spear goes a little wide, but he's just going to defend the tower from the Renekton, who's looking pretty spooky here in the top lane.
He's spooky because the Twisted Fate is also positioning to the top side as well as the Leona, so they're quite worried that they could just gank the Nidalee there, trying to catch up in CS, and it'll always help out these farming junglers to catch up on what the laners are missing out, allowing you to get ahead, but just the Leona Roman Misfortune as well is going to give over a nice and easy Herald. MF, gotta remember, one of her best traits is her strut. Her ability to rotate across the map is really unparalleled, and so she's going to be able to rotate over to the top side and stick to this lane with the Herald, or just base and go back to the bottom side whenever she wants. Nobody runs faster than her.
Yep, Legacy deciding to opt out of this potential Herald fight. Race is pushing a bottom lane, but Tapoon is in trouble once again. This could be 5 people in his lane ASAP. Mark with the flash E does land it, but the oranges are going to be burnt now. Peanut going to put him in the smoke screen, and Tapoon just getting chased down all day. Peanut looking for another kill. There's the collateral damage. Going to take down the Gangplank.
He's got his completed warrior enchantment at the moment, so he's really strong, gonna do so much damage, and they're still gonna get that first brick because they popped the Herald over here, so it's just gonna be gold over to Raze here, but the race for first brick has already been won by LGD. This was the concern for Legacy. How is the laning phase gonna play out? Clearly, LGD is gonna be able to outclass them, but this is a pace that I don't think LGC was ready for. Pastry already down over 2,000 gold, losing that first turret, and every lane, with the exception of bottom, has just been getting relentlessly shoved in.
Oh, Herald not going to get cancelled either, so it does good damage to the tier 2 tower as well. I mean, yeah, one of the lanes is going not so great right now. Tapoon down almost 30 CS to Longqing, but it's not the lane I think we expected. Tally's actually done a pretty good job just kind of floating this lane and keeping track of Xie, not letting him get out of this lane. And bottom lane's done really well on the Legacy side, but Tapoon, even though Gangplank does print a little bit of extra money, Gonna have to do a lot to hold on to this Renekton that's getting so strong so quickly. Got that Bilgewater Cutlass already racing towards the blade of the Ruined King, and I think the other issue is just Peanut, right? He's just brazenly walking into the enemy jungle. He knows he has priority from his solo lanes, playing exactly the way that he's known for. Just relentless aggression, because he knows he can afford to take every fight with his team behind him.
And he knows that his mid laner's ultimate is going to be a lot easier to play around than the Galio ultimate. Already in the tournament, we've seen what Galio can do when he's paired with champions like Camille or potentially the Jarvan. Here, there's really not a lot to work with on the side of Galio. You have Nidalee that has to go in, but it's not like she's stronger than Graves and has an opportunity to go in whenever she wants. So there's a hard time for finding Talia an opportunity for him to influence the map, and instead he's just losing plates and losing gold and just being bleeding pressure nonstop. Ujiie is able to collapse on everything, and that's what makes it so hard for Legacy to try to make a play, knowing that they're already behind when it comes to the mid lane rotation, and that the mid laner of Twisted Fate is going to have a much better position around the fight than the Galio can.
Yeah, quick Drake take as well. LGD, just too much pressure in these lanes for Legacy to try and answer it. And they're already up 2,000 gold, our LGD, as it is going to be a Cloud Rift and a Cloud Soul for this particular game. But Bib, to his credit, farming really well, but here's a 1v4 dive. Tally going to get out, but there's the first stun, there's the second. Flash out of there as Peanut was firing shots into the Galio, but they'll take the mid tower instead. Good ulti there, actually going to clear the way for Tapoon as Tally finishes off the rest of it, but he's busy like making sure Renekton doesn't kill him. So it's just a brief repeat from this wave.
And that's another Gangplank ultimate just used to deter a tower dive. The first one was used when the Gangplank was chased down by Leona and Graves, and now the second one to defend the mid lane. These team fight tools that Legacy wants to use continue to be used to just survive laning. Their one hope here, Pastry, is gonna be Raze, who's been farming quietly, yet a Kalista tends to have a really hard time in the mid game if she doesn't roll into it with a really big advantage. The rest of the team has to really round around her, and they do have the Taric ultimate if a team fight breaks out where LGD really overcommits to fight, but so many times we've seen the difficulties of using that kind of ultimate is so hard, and boy, this lane is so rough for Tapoon here. I think that moving forward into the next series, into the next game, you want to see more tanks into the top lane. Picks like Shen, picks like Malphite, just something that makes it so much harder for you to tower dive these lanes.
Oh, blue buff onto Bibip, I believe. Yep, did smite it away, but Peanut is just at it again. He's got two pushing solo lanes. No fear as he walks into the enemy jungle. Xie's almost finished off this mid lane outer tower, and plates are still up for 50 seconds. Long Xing's been working on the top outer thanks to the help of Rift Herald, so that one's looking pretty low as well. It's just an all-out assault here in the early game from LGD. Legacy trying to play catch-up despite Raze looking good. 30 CS ahead of Kramer with a finished Blade of the Ruined King already. Not going to do much without a team fight. Oh, this is what we're worried about. Crumbs, Tapoon already used it. Going to get stunned up by Xie. And that kill's not there just yet. Babip, he's trying to fight Peanut as Tally's roamed in.
Okay. That's the Ninja Tabbies from the Gangplank, allowing him to survive that. If he didn't have that, he definitely could get one shot there. But again, that's another defensive ultimate, another global use from Legacy. They are completely reactive to what LGD is bringing to the table here. They're not finding their own place. So despite LGD being so aggressive, they are at least keeping Legacy's tools completely used in a defensive manner, which makes it so much harder for them to get these flanks and these team fight wins. They're gonna kill this Twisted Fate at the very least. He does have flash.
Yeah, he's gonna try. No one in the area to help him. There's the gold card out of Xie. Babip though can leap back in. There's the TP in. That'll force the flash. And LGD have to burn two summoners, but they do protect their mid laner.
Oh boy, okay. I actually think he might not have needed to flash there. The Nidalee is not that strong just yet. Does have Mercrest to survive that CC and potentially escape from what would have been the Renekton following through. But we need to see Taric and Kalista involved. I don't think we've seen a single Fates call just yet, and those are the members that can bring this back for Legacy. They have to continue to survive what LGD is doing, which has been good thus far. They haven't died that much just yet, but you got to make a proactive play on your own. It's good that they have that first dragon to stall out the soul that LGD is going to be fighting for, yet they need to make sure that they have vision to get the plays that they want. If you look at the map right now, there's a single control ward on the blue buff. They have no idea what's going on in the river, which makes it so difficult for them to move forward. They have to be grouped together, and now they've lost the Crab as well. So even thinking about this Dragon setup is so much rougher for them, as the Twisted Fate ultimate will come through, and they're so late for this Herald.
Yeah, if they even wanted to fight it, right? LGD are going to be first to that objective. They should be able to take it down. Razor's going to be busy finishing off this tower, which I like because Legacy do need the gold. The second Rift Herald's going to be even better than the first one, despite not giving any plates away. There is plenty of places that they can try and break this with. And LGD, oh, they take the mid-outer as well.
They're going to be able to use this Herald wherever they want, really. You have so much time to decide where you want to pop this. Now, the bottom lane has really lost a lot of value at the moment, and going down there past the 20-minute mark really gets to be a liability at sorts, that the enemy team can always react and start Baron for you. So I think that the best use for it moving forward is just going to be when you get a team fight win, you can just pop it in the lane that is closest to you and try to get as much value out of that. Let's see if anything happens top lane. There's a big wave here. It looks like Renekton's just going to farm it up and make sure that he can crash this, as the priority from LGD right now is around the bottom side and around the Dragon. If Legacy can secure mid lane priority, they're going to have an easier time rotating this Galleon, having his ultimate be a presence.
Renekton doesn't have TP, so Legacy will at least get a full v4, but Peanut's popping the Herald mid, so they're going to have to deal with this first.
They're faster to the rotation. Look at where Legacy was. They were so focused on the bottom lane. They're now slow to this. They're going to lose a tier 2, and then LGD can just rotate over to the Dragon, and Legacy will have so much terrain to traverse through before even reaching and seeing the objective.
Get the Herald down, but as you said, LGD have all this time now to rotate everybody over to the Dragon. That's going to have to be given up, I believe. Legacy can't get in the area to contest for the objective, so they will give the second Drake over to LGD. As that gold lead's continuing to grow. 4,000 gold up now for LGD. Actually, 3,000. Maths is hard.
Math is hard, and you know what's also really hard? Pastry, drafting, because so many times what you think is going to play out ends up being differently. I think that Legacy thought that the laning phase was going to be a lot easier to get through. That's why you have the Gangplank, you have the Galleon, but these are all lanes that are going to lose naturally to what LGD drafted, and the short range of Kalista doesn't actually allow you to combo that well. I think I really would have liked to have seen that Jhin, something to pair to the range and add to an engage factor for Legacy. The Kalista, yes, has engaged, but you do have to play so well in the early laning phase. I'd like to see them move away from laning emphasis in the next game and really focus on what got them here, which was team fighting, making sure that you actually have every bit of tool of crowd control to pick on the enemy. Legacy can punish LGD because they have quite a few members that can get caught on their own, that do like to go on these individual side quests, and if you catch somebody there, you chain a few of those picks with the right champions, and then you just get those objectives for free because you get 4v5s left, right, and center.
Yeah, I think team fighting is still good for Legacy in this comp, although maybe a bit different from other comps they've shown us. But getting a team fight seems to be the hard thing right now. With mid-outer still being up, it's really hard to get into the river and then get vision down. We've seen LGD just have, I mean, basically full control of, you know, their half and part of Legacy's half of the map for the last 5 to 10 minutes.
Well, the Taric won't even get you the right team fight, right? He doesn't even have the range to engage onto you. He's melee. They're looking for Peanut here. Stun does not connect.
Good buff for the ulti there for Peanut to get out from under the Taric's stun. And bottom out is going to fall as a result. Chia and Kramer just smacking the tower, with Tally not having nearly enough AP to clear that out. So Legacy just going to have to wait between dragons, I think. Vivip is farming up a Storm. Like, he's still 20 CS ahead of Peanut, but Peanut's got 2 kills. He's working on a Black Cleaver. Vivip's working on a Zhonya's.
So rare for a farmed Nidalee that doesn't actually have an entire team with a solid scoreline behind her to be relevant here. She's just going to be relegated to surviving in these fights with the Zhonya's and maybe getting a Grail, but you're not even boosting a hyper carry here. The Kalista hasn't done a whole lot just yet. Doesn't have the Ginsus if that's what she's going. Probably will just be going for the Hurricane second to try to deal with all the diving members of LGD. Yet Nidalee, if you're not getting ahead early, you really just end up being a secondary support, and you don't have a hyper carry, so LGD is going to have to really just find an incredible Fates Call for these fights. Because you can actually pair Fates Call with the Taric ultimate and the Galio to do quite a bit of damage, and it'd be ideal if you could actually land that on top of an ulting Misfortune, because nobody else is really going to have the right angle to stop her. Yes, Tally has found plenty of teleport flanks to go for it, but he doesn't have the teleport up just yet. He just swapped to it, though, so maybe he does have the vision to see that Kramer has to be stopped from his ultimate channeled.
I guess we'll find out, because we haven't had a full 5v5 yet. LGD just happy to play the side lane with their big Renekton and their big Twisted Fate. Can't say I blame them. She is going to go ahead and split push the bottom lane. And Longxing has just been permanently pushing. I mean, the top lane is so long. There's no tier 2 tower there. It's just the inhib tower. So, yeah, Renekton's going to get spotted, but he's just going to pressure things in. He's got the TP. For the minute 25 mark on the Dragon Roams in, LGD have completely taken over Legacy's jungle. And Tapoon's in a potential 1v4. At least a 1v3 here as Mark's just off to the side, and Babip's going to have to come down to try and help out.
Oh, it's brutal. They don't have a way to engage. They just don't have it. The Nidalee doesn't find it. You don't even have the vision because LGD is doing such a fine job in denying it. You only have that one ward in the back of the red brush, but because of the terrain, you still don't even have the right angle there. So only Tally can potentially use that here, yet they're still just bleeding turrets left and right, and LGD can always disengage quite effectively there. You can use Leona ultimates and gold cards to get away from what LGC Legacy's throwing at you. These are going to be a confusing series, Pastry, LGC, LGD, but anyways, Legacy needs to have a better setup for these team fights. You need to engage. You can't just bleed out the entire game.
Yeah, and it's tough again with how much control LGD have exerted across the map, how good their setup and their vision was lacking in the early stages of this tournament in their play. And Legacy, they're finally going to posture aggressively. Good dash out from Peanut, but Legacy want to fight for this dragon because you called it, Crumbs. Race has gone Ginsu's. Legacy are really committing to this 5v5, the first one of this game. They do have the inside track already onto the objective, but they're going to have to make it quick. Solar Flare hits Raze, cleanses out. There's Tally going in. Finds the taunt there. Stun lands in as well, but Legacy need to commit a little bit more. Tally going to flash out. Collateral damage over the top. Longxing getting poked a little bit by the gangplank as the ulti gets committed, and Legacy will start the dragon.
They still have Taric ultimate. This could be the fight for Legacy. If Tally can TP and find a really good flank, this could be it, though. Misfortune still has ultimate.
Careful of Renekton, though. They're going to spot him now, finally, but I think it's too late. Raze going to get stunned from so far away as Longxing going to take down the Callista. A second kill already as the bot lane for Legacy has fallen, and Babip's going to have to run out of there. The dragon will be forfeit. 2 kills given over as well, as LGD only getting stronger and stronger.
The sneaky crocodile finds Callista, and her clans had been burned earlier from the Leona, so it was so easy to delete her. They can now turn to the Baron. They get everything, Pastry. I think this game is all but done here. Legacy just got outclassed early from LGD, and they have been clean. They just don't get the fights. They just focus on objectives and don't give the opportunity for Legacy to get the fight that they want.
It's looking so much more clinical now, RLGD. Certainly scary as this team looks towards the main event of Worlds 2020, but still a long way from that one here. But certainly this game looking very good for LGD as they finish off the Baron.
I think Legacy can shake this one off, though. But first, we're going to look at this flank, though. Great control ward there from Langjin. And then Callista steps up. So easy to immediately delete her. No heal to save her a little bit longer to buy time for the Taric ultimate. But it wouldn't have even mattered. She would have gone down at the end. Doesn't have enough damage to burn through the LGD diving pair of Leona and Renekton.
Just a nice easy setup there. It's always nice when Renekton can just walk his way into the back line. Legacy not able to find that 5v5 they've just been looking for. Every fight has been unfair, and LGD are going to look to keep it that way with the Baron buff pushing down. Only inhibitor towers to take alongside the Nexus ones. There are no tier 2s left. They were already very effectively 4-1-ing / 1-3-1-ing with this Twisted Fate and Renekton, and now it's going to get even better with this Baron.
So LGD just want to buy their time and allow the Renekton to crash the wave into the bottom. They want to pressure 3 lanes at the same time. You want to have all 3 drawing the attention out of Legacy so that you can maximize what you're doing with that empowered minion wave. So now that the Renekton is crashing, you can see what LGD is trying to do with mid and top, and that's going to draw away the members of Legacy. Divide and conquer, a composition that's already having such a hard time team fighting, an even worse time laning. This is just going to put an even bigger deficit on them.
All right, well, Longshin gonna go ahead, push down this. Waves are crashing it around the same time, very well coordinated there. As Tally looks for the taunt, but not gonna be found onto the Renekton. Kramer also getting aggressive, trying to hit down the tower, but not really an angle for Legacy to look for here. I mean, every single inhibitor tower is currently being pressured.
That was a good rotation there out of Peanut. I'm really impressed that they've actually been able to crash these waves so consistently. They're getting some value out of the Lich Bane and RFC as well. And there it is, divide and conquer. You see that Taric and Kalista were in the bottom side. Well, surprise, the Misfortune was able to rotate to the top side. You just broken one of these turrets down. And when you start to open up the base and you're dealing with a Twisted Fate, you can never leave. The threat of a backdoor becomes all too real here. So this is a big milestone for LGD in closing out this game. The noose is tightening.
Certainly is, and still 30 seconds left on this Baron, so another wave at least is going to crash in. She is going to go ahead and finish off this inhibitor. The cannon is going to do it. And mid lane, ooh, Race was actually the target. That cleanse not good enough as the bullet time comes in. She is almost flanking all the way around the back of the mid inhibitor tower. But Legacy just kind of getting crawled into their own base now. Bavip going to get blasted by Peanut's ulti. They're going to go on for GA now, but the exhaust is good. Still the damage is there. Going to rip the spears out, but it's not enough to take him down. Fate's call in. Ultimate pop for Taric, but GA into stasis he goes. Surely they can get one kill. Indeed they will, as Raze will finally pick up the pesky GA. And on they go again. Raze looking for Longshing. Going to try and keep the kills going. Renekton getting low, but he's pretty tanky. Mark here as well. Tally with a 3-man taunt. And they're still going. Mark surely is going to die. Indeed, Raze will get a second kill. But a slim consolation prize at the end of that push. LGD did so much damage with that Baron.
Yeah, they finally get the fight that they wanted, but at a huge cost there, because now the entire base turrets are gone. Only your Nexus turrets are alive. You've lost double inhibitors, and the Baron, yes, it went down, but it was so much value from LGD. You still have the teleport available from the Twisted Fate, and once he's up, once he can start to port in, you can even pair it with the Renekton's TP to backdoor here. So we're going to look at GA overstepping there, getting a little bit too greedy. Could have potentially retreated to the top side, but you can almost never fault somebody for wanting to group up with the rest of his team, knowing that you have safety in numbers.
And look at how they had to start this fight. Raze did all of the initiation work.
We've seen players like Tactical in the LCS having pop-up performances on the Kalista there, but knowing that your best engage as a Kalista happens at the 25-minute mark doesn't really strike you as the optimal way of playing Kalista here. They're going to lose up this Cloud Soul, which is going to be really deadly for somebody like the Leona or even the Renekton that can just pop ultimate and immediately find the engage. They're looking for more fights, and they're going to catch Graves.
Peanut stun Raze. This is an easy kill. See you later, Peanut! Spears, oh, he's not in range. That's a heartbreaker. Isle's now going to get stunned up, and Mark, he's found just that. Race is going to get stunned up, but Tally going to look to save the day. Mark now made a pin cushion. Ashir will finally take down Tally, but Legacy, they're going to keep fighting him. Raze, he needs to stay alive, but it's not going to be all that easy. Already killed by the Renekton, and it's going to be absolutely falling to pieces here for the Oceanic lads. As LGD look to put the finishing touches on this game. That's quite the TP. Very
They really want him.
aggressive from Sheer, we'll call it. Perhaps disrespectful. RFC going to proc in. See you later, Babib. And that's going to be the ace for LGD. That's going to be game one for LGD as they'll finish off the first Nexus on their way to the world's main event.
Quite collected of a game. You only had